Hi Annie, here we are again with our story of the week, and we're doing Unit 2. And what's the name of the story?
A very unusual excursion, Unit 2.
So we left them in Unit 1 last week, if I remember correctly. They were getting quite scared because of the situation. So now we will see what happens now. So off you go.
If I have to stop and then you can get me a sign.
Right.
Capture 2, the church. Did you see that, Sylvia? George said. Yes, answered Sylvia. What was it? I don't know, but it was very big and very ugly. Yeah, like some kind of creature. George looked at Sylvia and said, let's go after it. Are you kidding? Answered Sylvia. No way. Come on. We're here to explore. Let's follow it. Oh, George, I don't know about this.
Yeah, so George always wants to do these crazy things, and Sylvia is not that very keen on doing it. George and Sylvia left the old house. They followed the creature's footsteps into the woods. They looked around. Finally, George said, the creature could be anywhere. We have to split up. Split up? Said Sylvia in surprise. Are you crazy, George? There's a strange creature out here and we don't know where it is. Off you go. Your turn.
I know, George answered, but we could take a picture of it. We might be on the news. What? Come on, Sylvia, said George. Maybe it's a special animal. Maybe it was never photographed before. He looked at Sylvia and continued, they might write an article about us. Maybe I'll be interviewed for the TV news. We could. Stop, you're so crazy, George. I shouldn't encourage you. But fine, let's split up then. Let's split up then.
She always agrees to what he says, even though she doesn't want to do it. George went one way, Sylvia went the other. Sylvia saw no sign of the creature. She thought more about it. In the end, she came to the simplest conclusion. She and George imagined the creature. It was not real. A few minutes later, Sylvia saw George in the woods. It was almost dark. She told George about her conclusion. She told him the creature was not real. George disagreed. He was certain it was real. They just needed to prove it. Now your turn.
Suddenly, George saw a thicket of trees. He wanted to see if the creature was inside. He told Sylvia to wait. As he went into the thicket, George smiled and waved. Sylvia waited for George to come out. She waited several minutes. No George. She waited nearly half an hour. Still no George. Sylvia looked at her mobile phone. It had no service. She couldn't even call for help. At this point, she was scared, but she couldn't just leave George. Suddenly, she thought maybe he went back to the house. Maybe this is all a joke.
Sylvia walked back to the old house. She looked around. Still no George. She decided to wait. If he was joking, she could joke too. She planned to act. She planned to act normally. She would act as though it was no big deal that he was missing. Ha, that would be fun. There was an old bed in the main room. She sat down and took out a sandwich. She ate it and thought about George. Where was he? What could she do? As Sylvia thought, she became sleepy. Her head could not function. Oh, what a day. I just wait for George here. And that was the last thought as she went to sleep.
Sylvia woke up early the next day. George still wasn't there. She had hoped the whole experience was a dream, but now she realized it wasn't. She was really worried. Maybe this just wasn't a joke. Sylvia decided to go to the nearest town. She walked back along the same path. At last, she came to a small town. Although it was a Sunday, there were several people around. Sylvia tried her mobile phone, maybe. her mobile phone again. Still no service. No, she needed a phone now.
Sylvia went to a nearby restaurant. There were a lot of people there. Sylvia didn't know what to say. It was a very unusual situation. Finally, she decided not to say anything. She went to the owner and said, "Hello, can I use your phone, please?" "Of course you can. It's on the wall over there." "Thank you very much." First, Sylvia rang George's number. His mobile didn't ring. Maybe there was a problem with it. Next, she decided to call George's house. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Why didn't anybody answer? George's brother was normally home in the morning. Not today. Sylvia called again, but there was no answer. She left a message. "Where are you, George?" she asked. Now you.
Sylvia left the restaurant. She stood on the street for several minutes and thought. Sylvia was in what?
Independent.
Independent woman. Was independent woman. She was a woman who thought things through. Right then, she thought, let's figure this out. Maybe George got lost in the ticket, and when he came out, I was gone. So he went home. That must be it. Sylvia had to get back to George's house. She ran back to the restaurant and called a taxi. After 30 minutes, she arrived at George's house. "That's £9, said the driver. "Here's £10, said Sylvia. "Keep the change. Thank you. Have a good day."
Sylvia got out of the taxi and walked towards George's house. The house was very big and beautiful. It had 2 floors and a garden. It was in a very nice neighborhood. There were big houses and shops all around. George's car was parked outside the house. Was George inside? Had he called his family? Yes, your turn.
Sylvia checked her mobile phone. She had service now, but there were no messages. She called George again. She left another message and said she was worried. She asked him to contact her right away. I don't understand, she thought. George drove his car home. So why didn't he call me? Sylvia rang the doorbell. There was no answer. She rang 3 times, but no one answered.
Sylvia was concerned. She went to the house of her 2 friends, Claudia and Veronica. Her friends weren't at home either. She tried calling. Their phones were turned off. Something strange was going on. She just didn't know what. All her friends had disappeared. Sylvia didn't know what to do. She didn't want to contact the police. She knew George was safe because his car was home. There were no friends around to ask for help. Sylvia decided to do something. She would find George herself. Right, your turn.
At this point, it was late afternoon, so Sylvia took another taxi back to Lake Water. She took the path into the woods near the cabin. After a few minutes, she saw the old wooden house. But this time, she noticed a difference. There were lights on in the house.
Now, can you imagine what has happened?
I don't know. Because,
no idea.
Because
you know
I just
what
read
I'm
it.
thinking?
I didn't think about the content. I just read it.
This happens to some people too. They are so busy reading, they don't pay attention to the content.
That's true.
Or they don't understand. Okay, so I'm going to read you the summary. Pay attention, and then I will ask you again. Do you know what could be happening? Sylvia and George look for a strange creature in the woods. George disappears. Sylvia goes to the old house to find him. He isn't there. She falls asleep. She wakes up the next day. George still isn't there. She is worried. She calls George. He doesn't answer. She goes to his house. She sees his car, but she can't find him, and she can't find her friends. She finally returns to the old house. In the house. So
yeah, I think the George will come back to that whole house, I guess.
Yeah, but what do you think all this is happening? Why is George disappearing, coming back? What is he planning?
It is to make a joke, maybe.
I think he has prepared a surprise party.
Oh, it's possible.
It's possible. So we will have to wait till next week to see what happens to George and Sylvia. So you can think of the possibility. But George was always saying, Sylvia, let's do this. Sylvia, let's do that. And he was taking Sylvia along for the ride. So I don't know. So
maybe George gonna pop a question to Sylvia.
He's going to pop the question. He's going to pop the question.
Yeah.
Which means for our viewers who don't know what pop the question is when a man asks you to marry him. So when a man asks you to marry him, this is to pop the question. So we help people out if they didn't understand that. So you'll have to wait till next week to find out what happened.
Okay.
So see you then.